Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the BuzzStream podcast. My name is Nero, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Tamara Novitović. She is the head of SEO at Bazoom. Today, we're going to be talking about link value and kind of redefining what that means in 2025 in this AI era. So stay tuned. It's going to be an awesome talk. How you doing?
I'm all good. I'm so ready to talk about links again, even though I work with links all day. But
Hey, can never have too much,
no. But don't go too much with too many links. But thank you for inviting me to talk about this exciting topic, and I hope we will find some nice conclusions today.
Yeah. So Tamara, I kind of connected with you at Brighton where you gave a talk about kind of redefining link value. You had kind of like this impact score that you talked about, which we'll get into a little bit today. But I just think nowadays it's even more important to chat about this kind of stuff. I unfortunately didn't get to see your talk. So you gave me the deck. And so this is kind of going to be a nice explainer for me as well,
Mm-hmm. You're
outside of just seeing
personal.
the deck. Yeah. But I think it's, probably has changed a little bit since you've given the talk. We spoke about this before we recorded. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure by the time this goes live, some of this stuff will be outdated at the pace that AI is moving. So we're going to get into all that. Before we do, I just want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, leave a comment, thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. Engage with this stuff. It helps me bring on more guests like Tamara and just kind of get this out to more people. So Tamara, let's start in the very beginning here. I thought it was kind of an interesting slide. You're talking about why DA and DR don't really work as metrics anymore. Why is that the case?
So that was my controversial catch with my talk. I needed something scary for people, but in reality, I'm not against DR and DA. We call them vanity metrics because in kind of a way they are, but they're not bad metrics and I'm not against using them. So I'm only advocating for not focusing 100% on domain rating or domain authority. So that's my take there. And in my talk, I also explain how and why we should use DR and DA in certain ways to validate the authority or just to see if everything is aligned or if there's something shady going on. So there are ways to avoid falling into the vanity metric trap and using those metrics just as a part of your strategy, not the full focus. So that's kind
Well, so can you elaborate a little bit on kind of some of the potential pitfalls of leaning too heavily on either one of those?
Yeah, so for your audience, probably some of them know what DR is exactly or DA, but a lot of people don't actually are aware what these metrics are and how are they calculated or what kind of frameworks they operate on. And I will just say this, that the main rating is just a mathematical score of how many links are linking towards a certain website. So it's pretty simple metric, and that's why it's very easy to manipulate with domain rating. And one of the main pitfalls that I'm seeing with Bazoom clients, for example, is that they use domain rating boosting services that are pretty popular in the last
Oh,
year or two. Yeah. And it's a very nice service for the first week or two. It gives amazing results and you feel like you're high on DR and you get very good value for a low amount of money. And it's very easy to fall into this trap. But then you realize that you are losing rankings on important stuff. You are gaining rankings on very far away keywords that are not your core search intent. You're losing traffic because nobody's clicking on your website anymore because you are ranking on all sorts of stuff that are not related to your website. And it's because you gained hundreds of links in this package, in the DR boosting package, that are just linking from low quality PBNs, from websites that are just printed out by AI, linked on keywords that have no relation to your website at all. And some clients are not aware of this. I know SEOs are very focused on quality and SEO specialists are not that easy to trick, but also there are people that are buying SEO services without the medium, the SEO specialist in between. So this is why I try to bring awareness to why domain rating should not be like the top priority of the strategy, and their boosting services are not that good for the website.
Is that the same? I mean, can you manipulate DA and even things like trust flow, citation flow, like some of the majestic metrics? Is that the same?
No, I don't think they're the same because they use different factors in their calculations. Domain authority is kind of a domain rating on steroids. Links, link calculations plus authority of the content as well. So domain authority takes a bit more factors into consideration. So it's kind of a level up from domain rating. And trust flow and citation flow are also focusing on very specific things. Trust flow, I think it's how the topical relevancy of the website, does it match to the niche of the website or not, and etc. So these are kind of similar metrics, but not the same. And I don't think trust flow is that easy to manipulate because you have to change your whole content on the website to manipulate this. But domain rating is very easy to manipulate when you deal with links.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like I've heard some SEOs kind of saying, SEOs who talk a lot about using DA and DR who have kind of come out and said on the side, like, actually, like trust flow and citation flow are probably like the closest that you can get to things like, page rank, because they're all made to emulate page rank, right? But it's like nobody really uses it, right? Like DR has become the industry standard, probably even more so than DA. I mean, at least in one of the surveys that we did, that was the case for digital PRs. They use DR as a primary metric. Why do you think that is if it can be so manipulated so easily?
Well, I think it's the most popular because it shows the quickest results. It's so easy to manipulate, and it's so easy to show shiny numbers in your reports in, let's say, 2 or 3 months. You can easily manipulate this. So this is why SEOs like to use it in the past, but they didn't think of consequences later. And also, I think Ahrefs is very good at branding their product, so there's also that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. So we kind of know at this point, like, well, we talked a little bit about like how that can have a negative effect, right? But I think you mentioned like, you're going to be ranking for a lot of keywords that are too far off base, right? And we know that like engagement rate and click-through rate, that sort of thing, even though Google has said in the past it doesn't make a difference, it does seem to make a difference on ranking. So like you want to be ranking for keywords that are relevant so people click on them, and show Google that your site is being engaged with. But the other side of that is just like, can a backlink just hurt you on, principle? Like how does Google kind of track and see these manipulative links that you've gotten? Can just having bad links on your site hurt you just because you've had them?
Yeah, we don't actually know how they track this, which is our main problem right now. But we see, unfortunately, when websites get penalized, then we go back and see what this particular website did or what led to this manual penalty. Usually it's a manual penalty when it's a link spam. So spam brain was the main one that, did all of the cleaning up of the spam links. When I look at the penalized websites, I usually see similar type of links being influxed towards the website. So this is also how you do negative SEO. I see it a lot in competitive niches because we do a lot of work with iGaming businesses and crypto, which is very aggressive. And, it's good to see this side because then you know what to avoid and how to maybe disavow on time before it does any damage. Negative SEO or link spam or keyword boosting, domain rating boosting, it's all similar type of just sending too many signals at the same time towards a website. Usually it's a PBN, but not necessarily every PBN is bad. I just want to disclaim this, but usually they are low quality. So you can just receive hundreds of links for a short amount of time from websites that are not relevant at all on those shady keywords or just keywords that don't make any sense. And Spam Brain as an algorithm is focused on seeing this. We know that Google doesn't really care about domain rating or how many backlinks are leaking to you or out. That's part for PageRank and the link juice passing, but we're going to talk about that later. But regarding the spam, I think they're also tracking the location of the backlinks and the context of these backlinks. So if this backlink is totally off from your niche, doesn't have anything to do with your website, is located on the other opposite side of the world on servers that are shared by millions of others of websites, then it's very easy to track this by Spam Brain. Again, we're not sure if this is correct, but from my research and from, trying to figure out what happened for certain clients, I came to a conclusion that this is kind of the main things that Spam Brain is looking at. It's so easy to see this, and you can get penalized within 2 or 3 days after getting those hundreds of links. Sometimes Google is so fast, they will just penalize and you lose a lot of traffic. Some websites are a bit easier to navigate through this spam. But usually I see this kind of punishment very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they definitely prioritize the kind of people who are exploiting this at the higher level, right? So like you are doing hundreds at a time and these DR boosting sites. So, but are you saying like there are sites that can have figured out kind of loopholes and are doing this in a smarter way, and Google just doesn't really care? Do you think that Google will care and will go after those types of sites, or are they've got bigger fish to fry at this point?
It's a very good question, and my opinion changes on a monthly basis after every update. I have a lot of colleagues and friends that are working in Black Hat, and it's very popular. These techniques are working wonders for their websites in competitive niches, but also these niches are kind of blacklisted by Google. They're kind of shadow banned, and I feel like they have a specific algorithm for those niches only. So I think they're more resilient to spam.
Right.
Yeah. So good for them. Again,
You wouldn't build a whole
eventually
strategy.
they
You wouldn't
will.
tell a client to build a strategy off of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're maybe in that industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to get to, there was another thing that you said in your deck that I thought was interesting, talking about some spammy link practices that are getting phased out. And we kind of talked about some of them, but I was particularly interested in HARO. You called out kind of HARO overuse, and, it's back now.
Yeah.
There's several other sources. I mean, source of sources is one. There's several other platforms and services. I just had someone on the podcast who has their whole agency is based off of doing this type of, expert quote pitching and leveraging these services. So let's talk a little bit about HARO overuse and how you can get in trouble there.
I love HARO, and I know there are, like you said, specialized agencies that do HARO SEO only or HARO links only. I think those links are very healthy, and in a perfect scenario, in a perfect world, when things are done properly, they can give a lot of value. And
That's the key.
yeah, but that's why I said HARO overuse.
Finish.
We actually had a talk this year on Brighton SEO. I don't know if you heard about the drama and everything, but it was about creating fake AI authors.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was there.
So I'm not going to go into details, but it is kind of connected to the HARO overuse because we've seen a lot of fake identities or fake authors on the HARO platforms. And not only that, I'm not going to shade that. It's a new AI thing that people are trying out, but also overusing and misusing. But in terms of getting links from HARO and overusing this option, we all know how it works. You submit a link and maybe a keyword or pitch a context that you want to be included in. And people tend to pitch this to dozens of authors. And imagine if a lot of them publish your link at the same time on the same keyword, or you don't really have a control over the context that they're going to use in their articles. So suddenly you receive a lot of the links on maybe high DR websites that are in top tier quality, but those pages are on author pages that are maybe not even indexed. They are like a submission pages that never get to be seen by Google. Or on the other side, you receive too many unrelevant or low context links from HARO. So it is a good tool, but you really have to use it carefully and strategically. So that's what I mean with HARO overuse.
So it sounds to me like the kind of takeaway there for people using HARO is be selective, get more targeted than you think. Like the kind of casting a wide net is probably not your best bet, because what you're trying to avoid, I guess, is all of a sudden getting, even 2 or 3 of the same exact match keywords from different publications can be a somewhat weird signal. I mean, I guess if it's your brand, that's one thing, right? Like if I got a bunch of BuzzStream mentions, not as fishy, but if all of a sudden I got some email outreach tool or like digital PR tools, that might be a little fishy. And I did a analysis looking back at some of the sites that lost HCU and some of those sites that lost one of the most recent link spam updates. And that was all I saw. It was like, you look at their backlink profile and all the recent links it's exactly the stuff you're saying. It's like their exact match keywords. And you can kind of tell gut check by just like looking at what they're trying to rank for. And it's exactly and when you put it that way, it's like, yeah, you could easily see how Google could figure this out, right? Like if we could figure it out just by looking at it, Google could probably figure it.
Yeah, and this is why it's so easy. This is why I'm talking about this so much. It's a simple thing. It's a very like beginner level thing, but because it's so easy, people tend to skip this in their strategy steps and completely forget to quality check this. But sometimes you have to, start from scratch and take care of the small things first.
Yeah. I mean, well, let's see. I want to kind of double back to the engagement thing, because I think this helps people maybe structure the way they think about where they want to build links from. So one of the things you said was, Google looks at engagement, and if these links aren't getting clicked on, right? Like a link is okay on the surface where it just appears on a page, right? But like realistically, what you want is a link that's on a page that also gets clicked on, right? Like that is the ultimate signal. So you get a link from New York Times or Wall Street Journal or something, and it gets clicked on. That's, the best of all worlds. Let me break this down a couple questions. If you get a link from a high DA site, the IDR site, very authoritative site, does it still matter even if it's not getting clicked?
It depends on what you want to achieve with this link.
So I'd say for the most part, when we interviewed people for digital PR, let's say, for the most part, it was like, we do this to increase our domain rating to be able to rank better for organic keywords. Although I'm sure all this is going to change when I rerun this survey because of, all the AI stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe there's a part 2 of this question, but like, let's say that like, if you just want to increase your authority and ability to rank and show up in search results, which, may help you show up in AI mode and LLMs and stuff, does just having a link that doesn't get engaged with, is that beneficial still?
I think this would be kind of, in my mind, in my strategies, I see different types of links, and I think it's still good to have all of them. Like, let's say you have a diet and you need the proteins, you need carbs, you need all kinds of stuff. So that's how you need those backlinks that are here to signalize.
Yeah.
They're not going to get clicked. Probably those websites are in the medium or low bracket in quality or visibility. These links are here just to maybe for DR purposes or just to, have some page rank. Then you have those PR level or editorial level links that are here to do the rest, to rank the keywords and to actually bring people to click on your website as the ultimate result. And this is why I think parasite SEO is still active and popular, even though it's, it's not a accepted technique. It's kind of between black hat and white hat, but parasite SEO is the closest to getting a lot of clicks from a backlink. Sometimes a backlink can be no follow as well, but people will see this article and they will actually click because they're placed on super strong websites that actually have engagement on their articles. So there's layers to this, but for me, it's important that the page where the backlink is has some kind of engagement. So you don't have to get a lot of clicks from this. It's important that your keyword serves the purpose and actually stays in your reader's mind or whatever long enough for them to click. But also Google sees it in a similar way right now, and also the AI mode and AI overviews. We have it written in documentation, so we know that it's working in this way. So I think that's going to be, engagement is going to be very important from now on.
Yeah, I would love to see if there's surveys out there of like link builders or digital PRs who, like, what percentage of the links and placements they're getting actually get engagement or actually bring referral traffic. I would be, because I do think a lot of people think about it the way you're saying where it is. I love that acronym, by the way, or the terminology you use, I guess. You said it's like a diet, right? Where it's like, you need your fats, your fibers, whatever, carbs. I think that a lot of people think about it that way, where it's like some of it is fulfilling kind of Google for the algorithm, and some of it is like this brand recognition.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what you think now going forward. Like, does that mix need to change in this AI realm? I mean, we might be getting ahead of ourselves here, but because we might not know, but I'm just curious kind of what your gut's saying. Like, do we still need that healthy mix, or should we be thinking more about just brand mentions in general, or do we still need to kind of have our foot grounded in keywords and getting, branded mentions keyword specific mentions?
I'm not 100% sure, I have to say. I do see that it's shifting towards brand mentions more. And I think we will still need to have a mix, but it's going to be a different mix than right now. So I don't think those medium and low quality backlinks on pages that have zero traffic, like zero traffic guest posts, these are out of picture soon for me. And I see it as well. I've been testing a lot of strategies, and I actually get very sad because some of our links have very good content, but the pages never get any traffic. So there is no engagement on these pages, and for me it's a wasted resource. And it's for 99% of the backlinks in the world, it's like that, because guest posts they don't have this weight of authority and trust, because their main purpose was always, until now, was always just placing the link, and it's not the same like on-page content that we do for
Yeah.
our own website. So that's why I think the mix is going to be different. We're going to focus on brand mentions more in a PR mode and editorial style. And that's going to be, I think, the strongest signal from backlinks in the AI mode and AI results. But then we're going to have those kind of stronger guest posts with the hybrid content. I also talked about this in my talk, because also Google is focusing more on visual elements and visual summaries of the articles, and maybe users will spend more time on reading this, or maybe this infographic will be mentioned more than the actual guest posts, which we see currently in the last year. It's getting more and more popular. So I think we will focus more on the quality of guest posts and on the brand mentions. So this is going to be our diet for the future, or a healthier diet.
Yeah. So infographics are back, is what you're saying. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
No, that is really interesting. It's like this idea of serving things that, are going to get engagement. I mean, I'd like to hear you expand a little bit more on this guest post, because I forgot you did mention that. Like, guest posts started out, I feel like, as a very relevant and very impactful strategy, and then they just got spammed to death, right? But you're saying, like, if we can get back to, if I were to reach out to Ahrefs and say, like, I'm really passionate about digital PR, I want to write an article about doing digital PR in the AI age or something, and try to get, placement on there, like, that would carry a lot more weight than, and put a bunch of, maybe there's unique data that I can show or something within there. that is going to matter a lot more than going on some link marketplace and buying like 20 guest post links.
Yeah, I think you described it pretty well and pretty accurate. But regarding the guest posts, I feel like the length of guest posts is not going to be that relevant anymore. We know that Google doesn't like short content, but users, like their attention span is very short and it's
Yeah.
getting shorter and shorter. We know that TikTok is the one to blame mostly for that, but we know that they like everything summarized when they're reading something on the net. And dealing with AI mode and getting those very accurate to the detail long tail keywords, users when they're gonna search for very specific thing, they're gonna search with a long tail keyword and they will need the result fast, but they will convert with more success for this.
Yeah.
So it is the same with this content, with the infographics or the data. We see that the users really don't want to read 5,000 words articles anymore. That's very rare today. It's for case studies. It's for us that are researching something or wanting to learn something. But the average user will not read a super long guest post. And they would rather click on an infographic or maybe a short video, a snippet of a video, or something that explains the stuff quicker than reading like a bunch of AI text.
Yeah. I had kind of toyed around with this idea of like doing a little 90-second or 60-second summary of what you're about to read as it's like a video on all of my posts. I wonder if that's if it gets kind of to the heart of what you're saying is like people don't want to read because most of my stuff is still pretty long. And I wonder if that is one way to do it or maybe I should be breaking up these posts into smaller chunks, like rather than, for instance, I have these subject line, I have a lot of data on subject lines that I'm working through right now. So it's like, do I publish kind of one large post about, here's everything about subject lines and here's all the data, or do I break it down into, here's how long a subject line should be. And it's a, 500 word post or something with a bunch of data. Seems like that's kind of what you're saying. Like that's probably the more digestible thing that's going to get engaged. Kind of who cares about what Google wants from the old school SEO, because it's kind of out the door these days.
Well, you can actually test this and see, depends on what is your goal with this page. So do you just want people to visit the page or do you want them to convert and use your services?
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess in this case, these are all just like value add, not necessarily conversion focus. It's just, here's this data I have. I'm kind of hoping it's the data that journalists can use to cite, or researchers and that sort of thing, but not necessarily conversion.
Then longer content would be okay still because you will have the data, you will have probably some infographics with the data, and then you will have the explanation. So I think that still works in this format. So
but in a guest post format, you're thinking because it's more kind of thought leadership, doesn't really need to be that long.
Yeah. Or if it's off page, then I prefer it to be shorter or in a hybrid format.
Right, with video or something. Yeah, or graphics. Yeah. Okay. Tamara, I want to make sure we hit on impact scores because that was a big piece, kind of how you rounded out your new thought process for links. Let's talk about how you came up with impact score, why that's important. Let's kind of set the stage first.
So the impact score is kind of my way to educate people who are struggling with their link strategies. Because I work with a lot of different clients, all sorts of size, agency, direct, in-house, third hand. So a bunch of different people, but I can see a pattern when they're not educated enough or they're not aware what a good backlink is. So my goal there was to just show them that they should not fall into the vanity metric trap and that they can actually gain some traffic and convert some real users from their backlinks. It doesn't just have to exist for, the interlinking purposes. So the impact score is, as I said, it's not like a metric that is set in stone. It's not a mathematical metric. It's more of a framework or a way for people to get used to quality, like higher quality of backlinks.
Thinking.
So they can start implementing impact score in the first few months, and then they can test it out and they can kind of see what kind of backlinks in which score bracket, what kind of backlinks gave them the most value or gave them the worst value and what they should avoid. So that's my wish and my goal with the impact score.
And so are all these things that go into the score, are these things that you're pulling manually? These kind of the factors that build the score?
Usually, yes. Some of them are available through third-party tools and proxies. Some of them require you to look at the backlink or at the page. You can also use LLM to do that for you. If you set up a prompt that's the same for every impact scoring session. But yeah, usually it's manual because there's no tool to calculate this. It's not like a SEMrush or Ahrefs metric. It's a framework. And I'm also not a mathematician and developer. So that's kind of a hidden agenda behind.
Yeah, right. Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is great. Like a lot of agencies, I think, have some version of this where and they might not even have a score where they kind of try to talk through and validate what results they're getting. And maybe they have, some type of rubric or something. But I really like this because it pulls from a couple different places. And if you don't mind, I'm going to just kind of list them out so people kind of have a sense here. We don't have to necessarily get into all of them, but there's referral traffic, engagement, conversions, context, relevance, and then search intent. What, I guess, like of those, is there any of them that are more important than others? Are they all kind of equal in your mind?
They're not equal in a way, in a timing. Like some of them you can calculate or evaluate before you publish a link. And then let's say quality of the website, potential for traffic or whatever listed. And then once you publish the link, you track what happens after with the link. So this is the main difference for me. But in terms of importance, I think the context, the relevancy is the most important one, because from that, then you are able to get more chances for conversions, for engagement.
I know you said, this isn't a math pod, I swear, but are there ways to kind of measure relevance for people who are like us, who are not mathematicians and don't have kind of that? I know one of the big kind of buzzwords is this like cosine similarity that a lot of like the AI mode uses and the AI tools. So, how close your topic is to like mathematically to the link that you're getting and where it's placed. Are there tools that you use? How can people measure relevance?
And no, this is the part, if you show my slide where I list this, there's two different colors. So they are grouped into the ones that you can measure through tools, and there are some that you measure with your eyes and your brain. And I also have an option for prompting it into ChatGPT, for example, and training, kind of learn your style and kind of implement your quality standards for content, for example, and
Oh,
see
interesting.
how many times certain keywords or clusters were repeated in the content, so it knows that this is on point on the topic that it's talking about, or
Right.
it's not that much close to the topic. So, but I would say the relevancy part is still in this framework is still not tied to tools that much.
Yeah.
It's your own
Yeah. Kind of your judgment.
judgment. Yeah.
Yeah. I know we're a little over here, but there's one other thing that I think it's really important to kind of think about. And I love your thoughts to kind of leave people with. And it's this idea of like, at this point, we don't know what we don't know, right? We can only test things and we see what works. It seems like most of what is working these days, in terms of showing up on AI, in terms of showing up in AI, we are starting, like results are starting to trickle out or strategies are starting to trickle out that to me seem very spammy, very like early 2000s. Oh, right. I'm sure you've seen them, Tamara. It's like, show up in a bunch of like best X roundups, right? Like if I were to go out and solicit a bunch of placements and posts around best digital PR tools or something, like I should be able to boost my exposure. To me, like these are short wins, right? And chances are in a month or a couple months, Google's going to sweep those out with some update.
Yeah.
How should people be thinking about this kind of stuff? I mean, where do you stand on that with like short-term gains versus long-term thinking? Should people be taking these kind of shortcuts in the short term just for the short wins, or do you think that can hurt them in the long run?
It's tricky right now because we see that AI mode is pushing fresh content first. And I've seen some tests and case studies by other SEOs recently. And although AI mode is using high authority domains as their main source right now for information, they also tend to pick up fresh content as well. So we're not yet sure what is going on with the AI mode. Where does it take the information from? How evaluates what is a good source of information and whatnot? But I would still go with the safe option. I would still optimize for the Google ranking requirements that we know about, because AI mode is still not developed fully. It's still in the testing, like lab testing the stage. And we can see that with Google Search Console data that they published like 2 days ago, I think. Integrated AI mode. It's just not, it's too abstract right now to start optimizing in a completely new way for this. So I would be like, to wrap it up, I would still optimize for what we know and then work from there, because I think it's easier to re-optimize your existing strategy than to just panic and go from scratch. So that's
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a great place for us to kind of wrap up here. Let me just remind everybody here, and I'll share all this stuff in the show notes, but the impact score, when you're thinking about backlinks, generating links that are going to actually provide value, you should be thinking about referral traffic, engagement, conversions, the context and relevancy of the site, and the search intent. So Tamara, I guess, last thing I like to tell people is just like where to catch up with you or track, what you're talking about. You're very active on LinkedIn. I highly recommend checking out Tamara and connecting with her there. I would also say, obviously, check out Bazoom, where she's the head of SEO and all the work they're doing. Last thing is just, a reminder to like and subscribe to the podcast, but also leave comments. I'm sure if you have any questions about any of this stuff, Tamara would be more than happy to answer. So thank you so much for joining us. I know it's late for you out there in Denmark, and although it's going to be light out for another however many hours, but
yeah. But now I'm
till
so
midnight.
excited for our talk that I'm not going to be able to sleep. So I'm good.
The ideal guest who gets pumped about talking about links. I love it.
Yeah, links all the way.